Live from Melbourne, this is 7 Afternoon News with Mike Amor and Rebecca Maddern.
First at 4, hero witnesses have pulled off a bold citizen's arrest just seconds after a wild road rage outburst in Melbourne's east.
A shot was fired metres from a primary school. Chief Crime Reporter Cassie Zervos is at the scene.
Police are praising the efforts of several Good Samaritans who held a gunman down after a violent road rage attack here in Doncaster. The crash happened near the intersection of Williamson's Road and Manningham Road. Investigators say a black ute slammed heavily on the brakes and crashed into a white Volkswagen. The driver of the ute got out and, in an attempt to steal the hatchback, dragged the elderly woman from her car. Shocked motorists witnessed what was unfolding and didn't hesitate to step in.
Yeah, I was probably 5 of us. It's like Superman, so all good. Do what we could do. So I'm more worried about the older lady in the white car and the kids near the bus, school kids.
At some stage during the scuffle that he's had with the civilian witnesses, and to be quite frank, some very brave individuals who've come to the aid of the lady, the firearm has been discharged in a highly populated area like this, with people walking around. We're not far from Doncaster shopping town. It is quite dangerous, and there's a lot of people out on the street.
I still feel my hand is shaking in the moment. Terrifying, yeah.
So he tried to carjack you, he tried to steal your car, is that right?
Yeah. And everyone, lucky everyone coming to help me. I don't know how to get, yeah. And it's so precious, everyone.
The 32-year-old ute driver was taken to hospital under police guard. As for the elderly driver of the Volkswagen, she was taken to hospital, but just as a precaution.
Donald Trump says he's safe and well after Secret Service agents foiled an apparent assassination attempt in Florida. A suspect was arrested after hiding in the bushes with a rifle while the former president played golf. US Bureau Chief David Woywood reports.
Good afternoon. Well, the top line here is the former US President Donald Trump is safe and well and is said to be in good spirits after his Secret Service detail have opened fire on a would-be assassin hidden in the bushes at the former president's Florida golf course. Trump had been between holes 5 and 6 when his security detail, clearing the path ahead, noticed the barrel of an AK-style weapon pointing out of the shrubs. An agent opened fire, and the gunman, identified as Ryan Wesley Routh, aged in his 50s, seen here advocating for foreign fighters to join the war in Ukraine.
This is about good versus evil.
Then fled the scene, leaving the weapon, a firing scope, 2 backpacks and a GoPro behind. A quick-thinking witness helped track the man down minutes later.
Fortunately, we were able to locate a witness that came to us and said, hey, I saw the guy running out of the bushes. He jumped into a black Nissan, and I took a picture of the vehicle and the tag, which was great. We got a hold of Martin County Sheriff's Office, alerted them, and they spotted the vehicle and pulled it over and detained the guy.
Now, Trump was whisked to the clubhouse on a golf cart before a motorcade took him a short drive back to his Mar-a-Lago estate. There were gunshots in my vicinity, Trump posted shortly after. I am safe and well. Nothing will slow me down. I will never surrender.
Take a look at what happened.
It's the second assassination attempt in 2 months as questions about the protective coverage hangs large over both candidates. Vice President Harris reiterating her relief at hearing Trump was okay, again declaring violence has no place in America. Sentiment echoed by US allies.
This incident in the United States is of concern again. It is good that President Trump has said that he is safe.
The gunman's motivation is still unknown as the FBI, the lead agency in this case, tries to get to the bottom of yet another terrifying near miss in this election campaign.
Bombshell evidence is set to be heard as defamation action involving Victoria's opposition leader gets underway. Openings were heard today in the case between exiled Liberal MP Moira Deeming and leader John Pesutto. The court was told secret audio and text messages would be made public during the trial. Reporter Melina Saris will have more details a little later in the hour.
Police are pleading for help to find a registered sex offender who's gone underground. 25-year-old Dylan Jones has failed to report to police as required since leaving prison. He served time for sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl and has regular associates in Heidelberg, Bundoora and Geelong.
The driver involved in the Daylesford pub tragedy has been described as looking flushed and wasted after the crash that killed 5 patrons. Rochelle Brown was in court for today's preliminary hearing.
William Swales sat quietly as his barrister announced there was no dispute he was suffering from a medical episode at the time of the crash. The 67-year-old appeared at the Ballarat Magistrates Court today for day 1 of a hearing that will determine whether the case heads to trial. Prosecutors allege Mr Swale ignored 9 alerts notifying him his blood glucose levels were low in the hours before he crashed into patrons outside the Royal Daylesford Hotel in November last year. 5 people were killed, several others were injured.
Do you regret your decision to get behind the wheel that day? Do you have anything to say to the families?
Martin Hink was working at a wine bar nearby and was one of the first on scene that day. He told the court he approached the BMW after hearing a bang and loud screams. He noticed Mr Swale's skin was flushed, he looked wasted and bloody awful. Other witnesses included competitors from a shooting tournament at Clunes who crossed paths with Mr Swale in the days leading up to the fatality, and paramedics who treated him and noted his glucose levels were dangerously low. Mr Swale is facing multiple charges, including 5 counts of culpable driving. The case was expected to run for 6 days, but it will now wrap up in just 2. Families of the 5 victims also attended day 1 of the hearing. A number of diabetes experts and a police officer are expected to give evidence tomorrow.
The Shadow Housing Minister has hit back at the Prime Minister, accusing the government of trying to rush through botched housing legislation before the end of the year. Live to political reporter Isabel Mullen. Izzy, what's the Coalition's position on the Help to Buy scheme?
Mike, good afternoon. Well, the Coalition and the Greens have effectively rejected this policy, saying the Australian people don't want to own their homes with the federal government. This is a policy that had passed through the House of Representatives. It is now stuck in the Senate, where they are debating it today. Under the Help to Buy scheme, people would only need a 2% deposit to buy a new home. The government would then chip in about 40% for a new home and 30% for an existing home. But the opposition today have claimed it will increase demand for houses, driving up house prices.
The Australian dream is about people owning houses. It is not about the government co-owning their house. The Australian people do not want to co-own their house with Mr Albanese.
But the government insists it will help about 40,000 people get into the housing market, which they otherwise wouldn't have been able to afford to do.
This is a scheme where the government comes in as the bank of mum and dad.
It's not a trap. It's a path to freedom. It's an opportunity. Always with the negativity, never with the hope. Always with the no, never with the yes. That's what we are seeing. Liberal National Party and the Greens together.
It is now looking increasingly unlikely that this bill will pass the Senate this year. Mike.
Izzy, thank you. Isabel Mullen.
A damning report by a top anti-corruption lawyer has found bikies are still operating on Victoria's big build sites despite union claims they'd been cleared out. Barrister Jeffrey Watson SC began his investigations in July, saying the threat of violence even curtailed his work.
But the action that we're taking can't just be about what's going on in the union. This is also about some employers who've done the wrong thing. I think this is a demonstration of why it was so important that the CFMEU Construction Division was put into administration.
The report also raises serious concerns about EBA negotiations being vulnerable to corruption. It tabled 7 recommendations, including rebuilding relationships with police and cracking down on bikie links.
Jane Bunn joins us now. And Jane, it's starting to thaw out after Very chilly weekend.
Mike, after just 11 degrees on Saturday, it is gradually thawing out. We're still well below average. Today has been rather grey, a top of 14. Showers began to our south, spreading through late morning. They have developed into trains out there. Now, if you're in the path of one of these, then the wet weather just keeps on coming. But if you're just either side, it has been rather dry. Interestingly, one of those trains is over western suburbs, while the usual showers that form over the bay and push into the east are few and far between. We're impacted by the latest in a series of cold fronts, but the next high pressure system is not far. I'll show you how much warmer that'll make it later in the bulletin, Mike.
Can't wait for that. OK, thanks, Jane. See you soon. Firebugs target a convenience store in Melbourne's north. That's coming up next.
Also, who's better at saving money, men or women? The gender trend revealed.
And later, all the big winners from the small screen at the Emmy Awards.
And we'll have Lord Mayor candidate Cooter on the desk. Hear his plan to win over voters with free workouts.
You're watching 7's Afternoon News. Please stay with us. Police are hunting 4 firebugs accused of setting a Greenvale convenience store alight around 3:45 this morning. Firefighters managed to bring the blaze under control within 10 minutes. The suspects were last seen fleeing in a white vehicle.
New research suggests saving like a girl might be the key to a more secure financial future. A difference in the approaches of men and women has been highlighted by investment app Blossom, and we're now joined by one of its co-founders, Abbey Rosenberg. Hello, Abbey. Really interesting topic. Can you tell us about the saving behaviours that you're seeing in women?
Absolutely. Hi, Beck. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here. What we're seeing across our Blossom user base is a stark contrast between men and women. We've seen that women are very disciplined and consistent in their savings behaviours, which is amazing. They're making frequent, smaller transfers rather than large, sporadic ones. They're more likely to create a goal to support their savings plans, and they're saving for specific things like homes and holidays. The majority of them are automating their contributions to their accounts. So that's what we call recurring transfers, which means they really don't have to think about it. And of course, that makes it easier to stay on track. And the last couple of things is that they're withdrawing less and putting their funds away for longer. So we couldn't be happier with that.
OK. Ali, so women tend to have a different mindset altogether about their savings. Is that what you're telling me?
I'd say so. I'd say there's 3 key elements. One is that they save with patience. They're longer term thinkers, and they're definitely more risk averse. And I can say for myself, that's all the case. They're focusing on security and planning for the future rather than chasing the quick wins. And I think this cautious mindset makes women consistent, and it's working. We're more empowered to take control of our finances. This is likely due to better access to financial education as well, and a bit of a recent societal shift. But it's really all about creating financial security. And we're really proud that Blossom can support women and everyone in achieving their savings milestone every step of the way.
Yeah, but you've also seen the obvious trend that men tend to have bigger balances and more super. So there are still some changes needed?
Yeah, definitely. Super we can put, I think, to the side for now. Super balances are higher in men, and we could expect this for a range of reasons. But what we're focusing on at Blossom is the savings gap. Men tend to have bigger balances. We think it's partly due to the gender pay gap. They also have different behaviours. They're more confident, and they're more likely to start with larger amounts up front. But what is exciting is that we're seeing a trend where Blossom women and Blossom savers are steady, they're consistent, they're taking that smaller, slower approach to saving, and we hope that that should help to close the gender savings gap over time. And it's not about how much you start with, it's more about how committed you are to your goals. And really, we're proud to encourage everyone to save like a girl, because it means making those intentional, informed choices, which I think we can all aim for.
Yeah. Terrific. Good work. Thank you very much, Abbey Rosenberg from the Blossom app. Thank you. Well, Australian stars have collected Emmy Awards and red carpet accolades in a glittering ceremony in Los Angeles. Miley Hogan has the highlights.
Well, the red carpet is the show before the show, a chance for celebrities to show off their stunning style, and this year didn't disappoint. Jennifer Aniston, the star of Morning Wars, sparkled. Her co-star Reese Witherspoon in black and white, Sophie Vergara a vision in red, and Australia's Naomi Watts striking in green, alongside her husband Billy Crudup. But it was Melbourne's Elizabeth Debicki who led the charge for the Aussies, taking home her first Emmy for her performance as Princess Diana in The Crown.
Playing this part based on this unparalleled, incredible human being has been my great privilege. It has been a gift. Thank you so very much.
In the major categories, Shogun cleaned up.
Shogun.
Setting a new record with 18 Emmys for one season, including Best Drama, Best Actress and Best Actor.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to every single one of the crew and cast.
Richard Gadd and Jessica Gunning won for their roles in Baby Reindeer, the popular and controversial runaway hit. For Best Comedy, Hacks was the surprise winner. But the show wasn't just about today's big hits, Ron Howard and Henry Winkler reuniting to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Happy Days. Another big winner of the night, The Bear, taking home 11 Emmys, including Best Actor in a Drama.
Thank you so much. My heart is just beating right out of his chest.
Well, now that the show is over and the winners have been crowned, it's time for the stars to take those little gold statues and head to the after party.
And we'll return to Hollywood for a look at Emmy's fashions later in the bulletin, but after the break, we'll count down to the preliminary finals in the AFL.
Geelong is raring to go for a clash with the Lions, but will have a few selection headaches.
Plus, Oscar Piastri's drive to perfection to deliver his second ever Formula One win.
This is 7's Afternoon News. We're live from Docklands. Well, Abbey Gelmi is here with us afternoon sport. Now, Abbey, it's a big week for the Catters.
It certainly is, Beck. Remarkably, it's Geelong's 5th preliminary final appearance in 6 years. But the Cats have a few big calls to make at the selection table. Laura Spurway kept a close eye on their trading today ahead of their clash with the Lions.
Well, there is a lot of expectation on this side. The only Victorian team in the finals, which are represented by 4 states for the first time in 19 years. Now, recent history is in Geelong's favour for this Saturday's clash against the Lions. When these two teams met in the 2022 prelim, the Cats thrashed Brisbane by 71 points. This is a very different looking Geelong side though, with the rise of several young players such as Ollie Dempsey, Lawson Humphreys and Sean Manor. But questions still remain over some of the team's veterans. The club is saying that Tom Stewart is fit after being a late out for the qualifying final against Port Adelaide with a hamstring injury. Tom Hawkins is still pushing for a finals berth in his comeback from injury, but has only the one VFL game under his belt to make his case. Same with Sam de Koning, who was left out of the Port Adelaide qualifying final. Jeremy Cameron says it is a very tough time of year with selection calls, but Tom Hawkins is giving himself every chance to play a finals game before retirement.
He could just, sail off, and he's had an amazing career. It's a tight window, but he's done everything he could possibly do. He's in there working behind the scenes, he's in the heat room, he's doing everything he can to give himself a chance, and that's all you can really ask for.
The Cats will be coming off a 16-day break into this Saturday's game, having played just once in 4 weeks given the pre-finals bye, but they are confident the break won't work against them and their bodies are fresh in their bid to make yet another grand final. Cam Guthrie is also pushing for a spot in the senior side, so the squeeze is definitely on ahead of Thursday's selection.
They're flag favourites, but the Swans will take a concerning record into their preliminary final against Port Adelaide. The Power haven't lost to the Swans since 2016 and smashed Sydney by 112 points in the most recent meeting at Adelaide Oval last month.
I always sort of look forward, and for this week, that's what really matters for us, and how we meet, how we train, how we do our weights, how we prepare.
Don Longmire is yet to make a call on who will replace injured captain Callum Mills. Melbourne's Oscar Piastri has sealed his second Formula One victory for McLaren with a flawless performance at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Starting from second on the grid, Piastri gained control of the race on lap 20 with a perfect pass on leader Charles Leclerc.
Piastri
Piastri down the inside, late on the brakes, makes the move stick.
A late collision between Carlos Sainz and Sergio Perez meant the race ended under virtual safety car, allowing the young gun to cruise to his second win of the season.
There's no such thing as a relaxing lap around here, so it was hard work, but no, I think that definitely goes down as one of my better races of my career.
Piastri is the first Aussie to win multiple races in a season since Daniel Ricciardo in 2018. Tottenham's frustrating start to the Premier League season has continued. The Spurs peace coach.
For some reason, people think I don't care about set pieces, and it's a narrative that you can keep going on for ages, and I carry, mate, and I'm happy to do that.
Newcastle United scored twice in the final 15 minutes to beat the Wolves 2-1. And just over a month after making history on the water in Paris, Naomi Fox returned to action at the World Cup event in Italy. The first ever Olympic champion in kayak cross had to settle for bronze in a fiercely contested final.
It's going to be a GB 1 and 2. Naomi Fox takes the bronze. What a race.
The World Cup season wraps up in Spain next week, and we will have pictures from the Hawks' Mad Monday at 6.
Oh, is it mad?
Well, their tweets are, so I just don't know how it'll be.
All right, thank you very much, Abs. Thank you. Well, growing calls for answers after a man died waiting for an ambulance. That is coming up next.
Also, bombshell evidence as the opposition leader and Moira Deeming face off in court.
A fugitive killer driver on the agenda as the Premier visits India.
7 teens arrested over a cross-city crime spree.
And it's on like Donkey Kong, the legal battle sparked by an arcade game.
We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Live from Melbourne, this is 7 Afternoon News with Mike Amor and Rebecca Maddern.
Welcome back. More now on our earlier story. And Donald Trump is safe and unhurt after what's being treated as a second assassination attempt.
Vice President Kamala Harris says she's glad Mr. Trump is safe and that violence has no place in America.
Former President Donald Trump is safe and unharmed following a protective incident shortly before 2 p.m. on Sunday at Trump International Golf Club at West Palm Beach. The U.S. Secret Service personnel opened fire on a gunman located near the property line, and this matter is under investigation.
In the bushes where this guy was is a AK-47 style rifle with a scope, 2 backpacks which were hung on the fence that had ceramic tile in them, and a GoPro. At this level that he is at right now, he's not the sitting president. If he was, we would have had this entire golf course around it. But because he's not, the security is limited to the areas that the Secret Service deems possible. So I would imagine that the next time he comes at a golf course, there'll probably be a little bit more people around the perimeter. But the Secret Service did exactly what they should have done. They provided exactly what the protection should have been.
A bombshell audio recording and text messages will be key evidence in a legal showdown between an exiled Liberal MP and the Victorian opposition leader. Moira Deeming's defamation case against John Pesutto is set to run for 3 weeks. Melina Saris was at the federal court for day 1.
The federal court has heard opposition leader John Pesutto tarred Liberal MP Moira Deeming with the Nazi brush and blew up her entire political life. A bombshell audio recording of a meeting between Mrs Deeming and the Liberal leadership team will be played in court. The meeting was held 24 hours after Mrs Deeming attended a Let Women Speak rally on the steps of Parliament, which was gate-crashed by neo-Nazis who marched and performed the Nazi salute. The opposition leader claims in the meeting they asked Mrs Deeming to put out a statement distancing herself from the neo-Nazis, but her lawyer told the court the recording proves he had already made up his mind and had decided to get rid of her. Text messages were also shown in court between Mr Pesutto and senior Liberal figures.
Both of you are going in to give evidence. Is it a big blow to the Liberal Party?
Look, the matter's before court. And I will not be making any comment about the court case. We're focused on doing our work each and every day, which John Pesutto and Georgie and I and the whole team have been doing that.
The matter's before the courts, and that's all I'll be saying on the matter while the matter is before the courts.
The defamation case is expected to run for 3 weeks. Mrs. Deeming alleges she was defamed by Mr. Pizzuto in media releases and interviews, which labelled her as a Nazi sympathiser. More than a dozen witnesses are expected to take the stand here at the federal court, including current and former Liberal MPs.
There's growing community outrage after a 69-year-old man died while waiting 4 hours for an ambulance on Sunday morning. The ambulance union says a code orange should have been called.
We escalated to code green, and the measures around code orange consider the amount of demand in the community at any given time. It also considers the amount of fleet availability and the delays we're experiencing. And we didn't hit those triggers on Saturday, but we are giving due consideration to those measures, whether they're appropriate, and will be considered as part of the review to what's occurred over the weekend.
Today, flowers were laid at the man's Surrey Hills home.
The Premier's Indian trip has begun with efforts to get a killer driver back to Melbourne to face justice. Paul Dowsley is in the media pack travelling with Jacinta Allen.
It's Jacinta Allen's first day of her first international trip as Premier, and among her first priorities here in Delhi was to discuss the ongoing efforts to bring Puneet back to Melbourne. And she did that last night, frustrated that it's been 16 years since he hit and killed 19-year-old student Dean Hofsty in South Bank. Puneet then fled the crash scene and fled the country while on bail after pleading guilty to dangerous driving causing death.
We must remember too that there's a family. There's a family here who continue to grieve the loss of their beautiful son in this terrible, terrible accident. It's why I continue to support this individual's extradition back to Victoria. It's why last night in my meeting with the High Commissioner I raised this matter.
Also on the agenda for the Premier this week, it is a long list: sport, education, technology, business and government relations, film and culture, strengthening cultural, community, trade and economic connections in meetings, functions and announcements across the next 4 days. And with the federal government's controversial plan to cap international student enrolments at 270,000 starting next year, Jacinta Allen is keen to make sure India knows Victoria is still welcoming.
I'm sending a very clear message that Victoria remains a welcoming place for international students. And we'll also too be making it very clear that whilst the federal government has put caps in place that we don't support, we continue to support a very strong welcoming environment.
And the Premier spoke with excitement about this year's Boxing Day test between Australia and India at the MCG, hinting that she may well make an announcement about cricket before she leaves Delhi on Thursday.
7 teenagers have been charged over an aggravated burglary in Williamstown. Security vision shows the group armed with weapons entering the home early on Thursday morning. Once inside, they allegedly took just 15 minutes to steal cash, jewellery and a Mercedes. Police say the same group stole a car from a gym in Elstonwick hours earlier. 5 have been bailed and 2 were remanded to face a children's court at a later date.
A high-stakes battle over a gamer's global reputation is being fought in an Australian courtroom. A star Donkey Kong player from America claims he was defamed by a Brisbane YouTuber. Garth Burley reports.
Good afternoon. This is a unique defamation trial, the likes of which Queensland has never seen, between a Donkey Kong world record holder Billy Mitchell and Brisbane YouTuber Carl Jobs. Billy Mitchell is renowned in the arcade gaming world for breaking the Donkey Kong world record score on multiple occasions and rose to fame after a 2007 documentary, The King of Kong. But throughout his career, the legitimacy of some scores has been called into question, including from Brisbane YouTuber Carl Jobs. Today, the pair found themselves metres away in a Brisbane courtroom. The US gaming icon is arguing that the local content creator defamed him in a video which alleged Mitchell's lawsuit against a US YouTuber led to his suicide. He's seeking damages of close to $500,000. The trial has been set down for 6 days, but lawyers for both parties have indicated it could run longer than a week.
Coming up next, the latest on deadly floods sweeping across Europe.
Also, the big promises being made in Melbourne's Lord Mayor race. Cooter is here to explain his latest pledge.
How a milestone birthday could mend rifts within the royal family.
And hold your horses, the riders turning heads in an unusual equestrian event.
Stay with us here on 7's Afternoon News.
Now, to an election promise with a difference. And former footy star Anthony Koutoufides is pledging to run free fitness sessions if he becomes Melbourne's Lord Mayor.
And Kouta is with us now to chat about this adventurous plan. Kouta, great to have you in the studio today. I know you're a very fit man, you always have been, but everyone's nodding to fitness. You know this. I think the coffee would have been better. The coffee would have got you more
The coffee's still there.
votes.
The coffee's still there. But
tell me about this fitness plan. You want to make everyone as fit as you.
Not as fit as me, definitely. Everyone train, I call a level 10 best, so obviously everyone just do it at their own level. But I think a free fitness session for people to get out there. I understand there's an obesity epidemic here in Australia, but I've done community fit clubs for a long, long time.
Yeah,
and sometimes you just not push, but give an opportunity for people to get off the couch and join a community, a fun, positive one, and it can really change their life. And so for us to give free sessions like that, I'm really excited by it, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
You're actually going to run these sessions. Won't you have enough to do as Lord Mayor?
I will. I'm not going to say I'm going to run every one. I'll oversee the program, but I'll be there as much as I can. I love training anyway, and it'll give me access to a lot of the people that live in the city of Melbourne and get feedback from them, what we can do better and, you know, where we need to improve and what we're doing well. So I think it's important for us to be able to mingle with the people.
Kouta, I can't remember a campaign like this. This is so hotly contested and everybody is talking about who's going to be the Lord Mayor. Did you think when you put your hand up it was going to be quite so big?
No, I didn't, to be honest. It's a surprise to me, but it is full on. To be honest, my family's in the Gold Coast and I had to cut it short only because I have so much going on here. And I want to give it my absolute best until, you know, the election is over. And so I'm so happy that I'm out. I've had incredible support from the people of the community, and that's where I'm very lucky. Not only Current supporters, but, you know, AFL and just general people of Melbourne, which I love. So I'm very blessed to have had that support too. It's been an incredible experience so far with a long way to go.
I hate to be the Debbie Downer here, and I know a lot of people would love to be doing push-ups in the park with Kouta, but there are bigger issues with this Lord Mayor's race, right?
There is a lot. I mean, obviously, we've identified Monday and Friday has been very quiet in the city, and so the free coffee that's still around, if I'm lucky enough and, you know, to get in, and Fridays, you know, we want a cheaper transport if we can speak to the state government and the private transport holders, and we want bigger events. We've got incentives for businesses to come back into the city, so $5,000 to get them started up. We've reviewed the bike lanes, and Exhibition Street is one street that we want to open up and get traffic flow from Rathdown Street through the city onto the southeastern freeway. So there's a lot of things we are doing, with more to come every week.
Melbourne is a great city, there's no doubt about that. But do you think that the city has lost its way a little?
I think you're talking to people from the outside, there's, I think, some sort of funny energy about the city at the moment. A lot of people don't want to come in for many reasons, but when I look at the city of Melbourne, and I'm very privileged and honoured that I was born here and love the city and spend so many great times there, I look at Melbourne, and we're not here definitely for the weather, and people don't come here for the beaches, but they come here for the city. It's the fashion, it's the world-class cafes, the restaurants, and, you know, all the events that we do, and the sporting, you know, precinct too that we have in all these elite sports. So we come here for different reasons, and obviously the multiculturalism that we have here as well. And so there's a great reason to be here. But our goal is to get Melbourne to become the most livable city in the world again.
OK, well, good luck. We've got a few more weeks to go of campaigning.
I can't believe Andrew's not on your ticket. That is very disappointing.
He's disappointed too, don't worry. It's a good thing.
OK, thanks, Kouta.
Thank you.
The royal family has offered what's been called a digital olive branch to Prince Harry to celebrate the Duke's 40th birthday.
The online greetings are being seen as a rare show of warmth through otherwise frosty relations.
A birthday milestone has ended a pause in public affection shown by the royal family for Prince Harry. Surprisingly reshared with a happy 40th birthday message from the Prince and Princess of Wales amid a personal rift. But will this change anything?
Perhaps at best this might be another sort of olive branch, a digital olive branch from the King. I think the problem perhaps lies with Harry and William's relationship, and I don't think a retweet and an added message really fundamentally changes the situation between the two brothers.
It's been a tumultuous 10 years for the once party prince, who was at one time more loved than the late Queen. His popularity was sky high as his marriage to Meghan pulled in a historic number of viewers.
When someone who's marrying in, who should be a supporting act, is then stealing the limelight or is doing the job better than the person who was born to do this, that upsets people.
But soon after, the Fab Four split and the Duke and Duchess of Sussex broke away from the royal family. Harry aired accusations against them from LA and continues to be involved in legal battles with some of the press. Tensions between Prince Harry and his family are still rife. He last saw his father during a flying visit from LA in February after learning of the King's cancer diagnosis. But he'll still be celebrating today with his wife and their 2 children before heading away with friends. While this moment showed that Harry's reaction to a message from his brother, today's might be a turning point.
At least 8 people have died in catastrophic floods across Central and Eastern Europe. Heavy flooding has hit towns in the northern Czech Republic, with rivers overflowing and torrents of water running down streets. Thousands of people have been evacuated from homes in Poland and Romania. And a state of emergency has been declared in Bratislava and Vienna.
There's a debate over whether it's a sport or just an activity, but the Hobby Horse Championships in Germany were as fiercely contested as any legitimate competition. 300 riders were scored in time-jumping style and dressage on their wooden stick ponies. Hobby horsing stems from a grassroots movement in Finland and has recently exploded in popularity thanks to social media. Will probably be an Olympic sport before we know it. An Australian was among the winners at television's Night of Nights. A full wrap-up of the Emmy Awards is coming up next.
And as we take a look at this live shot of Melbourne, we'll have the latest on the traffic and weather. We'll see you very soon. There were plenty of awards on offer at the Emmys, but for many, the real show was on the red carpet. Grace Fitzgibbon takes a look at fashion's finest.
It's the night celebrating some of television's biggest names, and stars did not disappoint, gracing the Emmys' red carpet wearing some of fashion's biggest names. The evening saw a rather demure take, from floor-length gowns to classic silhouettes and sequins. Australia's Elizabeth Debicki receiving her Emmy in a black Dior ball gown.
I am also very proud of the show. I think that the work in it is really incredible and the actors are amazing and all the craftsmanship in it is amazing. It's definitely been the greatest privilege of my career so far to be part of that show.
Io Edebury in a mosaic-style Bottega Veneta gown. Selena Gomez mastered the elegant black dress by Ralph Lauren. Bridgerton and fellow Traveller star Jonathan Bailey showed off an elegant take on a traditional tuxedo by Armani. And Jeremy Allen White, known for his role in popular TV series The Bear, posed in a sleek tuxedo. Dominic West channeling his character from The Crown, King Charles. Royal flair in a dark brown velvet jacket and tailored pants.
I'm delighted. I'm absolutely pleased to bits.
Grace Fitzgibbon, 7 News.
Let's take a quick look at Melbourne's traffic right now.
Good afternoon, it's James in the Tasman Butchers traffic chopper. It's a rough trot through Richmond where a truck's brought a pole down on Victoria Street. It's currently closed outbound at Cook Street, also affecting trams through the area, with commuters having to jump onto Johnston Street as a result. Shop at Tasman Butchers for your chance to win one of 9 Farm 88 Grand Final gift packs valued at over $1,000 each. Visit tasmanbutchers.com.au for details. Have a great night. I'll catch you again tomorrow.
Well, the biggest country in the world can now lay claim to producing one of the world's biggest pumpkins. An amateur gardener in Russia has broken the Russian record with this 817-kilogram monster, which is as much as a bull, they tell me. The grower says he doesn't regard giant vegetables as food, but rather art. It's not a pumpkin soup, isn't it?
Me too. I don't regard them as food either. Jane Bunn returns now. Jane went to the showers, clear.
Well, Micah, most of them will ease back overnight. Wet dry across Melbourne by tomorrow afternoon. It's also slowly warming up. Today was 3 degrees below average, but a step up from the weekend. Mostly grey, the odd sunny break followed by further grey. What you expect when there are showers passing through. The latest in a series of cold fronts is pushing these showers across the south and ranges. They are falling in the southwest too. The radar is out of service, we can't see them. They're not falling north of the Divide, where we're in a stretch of frosty nights in that clear air. Lots of -2 at first this morning. This cold front isn't quite as chilly as the one we had on Saturday, as the next high pressure system is a lot closer to us. That high moves over Victoria tomorrow and to our east on Wednesday. Then our next series of cold fronts begins with this next front here over the Bight. We are seeing tropical activity develop up to our north, but the high is in the way, and that won't let the rain through to northern Victoria. With that high moving in tomorrow, our wet weather eases. It should be all clear by Tuesday afternoon, continuing for much of Wednesday as it warms up. The next front sweeps across the southwest later on Wednesday, setting us up for a new stretch of cold and showery weather. Snow in the Alps this time, not on the ranges. Not a repeat of the extremes we experienced on the weekend. Around the nation tomorrow is sunshine for Brisbane and Sydney under the high. Showers cross the top of the country. The warmth is over in the west on that western side of the high pressure system. A cold start in Adelaide and Canberra. Grey in Hobart too. They're too far south from the high, but in between cold fronts, so it's dry. To Victoria, widespread frost again north of the Divide. Patchy morning fog, then sunny. Areas of cloud in the south. We have isolated showers, clearing all but the coast by the afternoon. Generally light winds becoming gusty in the southwest later. In Melbourne, we should rise up to 17. Just the odd leftover shower in southeastern suburbs during the morning. Otherwise, all dry out there tomorrow. And there's increasing sunshine as the day goes on. But the pick of the week is definitely Wednesday. Are you ready for our weather to start with a 2 again?
Yeah, yes, please.
No.
Okay, thanks, Jane. Coming up in our next major bulletin with Peter Mitchell, we'll hear from the furious family of a man who died while waiting hours for an ambulance. Also, a special health report where you can get some of the most common medications at the lowest prices. And we'll reveal the ambassador for Melbourne Fashion Week. Those stories and more coming up after the chase.
And that is all from Melbourne's afternoon news. Thank you very much for joining us.
For now, from the 7 News team, enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want every minute of every day, including breaking news alerts. Download the 7 News app now.